Welcome back to another episode of Freeform AI. My name is Michael Burke, and I do data engineering and machine learning at Databricks. I'm joined by my co-host. His name is
Ben Wilson. I do transitions at Databricks.
cool, timely. Yeah, you do. But today we're not going to be talking about this transition per se in specifics. We are instead going to be talking about career transitions and optimizing your career in general. The reason we're doing this is I started a book called How to Measure Your Life by Clayton M. Christensen. This was recommended and came recommended very highly to me, so I was excited to dive in. And I'm only like two chapters in, but already the way that it has started has really opened my eyes, and it's been a very interesting philosophically based argument instead of telling a bunch of random stories or giving you sort of a checklist. It takes a step back, operates from first principles, and allows you to guide yourself with those first principles. So, first things first, one of the key things that the book starts off with is this concept of hygiene versus motivation factors. So, a hygiene factor is something like, do you make enough money to support a reasonable lifestyle? Do you have a very high one? Maybe you need higher hygiene factors, or if you're pretty low key, maybe you don't need as much money. Other things include like work life balance. Do you have the equipment that you need? Do you have a laptop that functions? That type of stuff. Then on the flip side, motivation factors are the things that keep you thinking about your job in a positive way over the weekend or at night. They're the things that are based out of connection to your team and finding deeper purpose in the mission that you guys are working towards. So these are very different. And this all came out of the concept of a Harvard business class where the professor asked the students, how do I make people be better at their job? And they just said, oh, pay them more money, give them a bonus. And the professor was like, that usually doesn't work in practice. And I have found that to be true as well. So, Ben, do you ever think about this differentiation between hygiene and motivation factors?
Of course. I mean, it feels like it's lifted in a way from like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You can't really do much if you don't have food to eat, right? Or a safe place to be. In a job, it's the same thing. You have like these core needs that if one of those things is disrupted to a certain extent, it doesn't matter what your intrinsic motivation is. Like you could have these driving forces in you of like performing excellently and doing all this stuff. But if you have something that where it's like, oh, it's incredibly hard to do anything because of this personal conflict in my team, or there's some sort of weird drama, or my company is downsizing. So everybody's got this fear of we're all going to get laid off, or you can't flourish in that environment. So you have to meet those needs. Personally, I would say that the ratio between the two is highly variable for a person, about like what dominates their will to do stuff and how much that first hierarchy can actually impact and nullify anything in that second bucket. It's like some people are resilient just naturally, like shit can be going wrong around them and they're like, yeah, whatever. It sucks, but I'll work through it. Other people, minor disruptions can just fuck everything up. And they're like, I can't function. I'm stressed out. It's not a fault of either of those two groups. It's just we're all different, right? But the motivation factor, I feel like that's the topic today about what are those different things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely at least one of the topics we're planning on covering. I'm curious to you, what are your hygiene factors? Like, not throwing out numbers or anything, but what are the things you look for as in like a checklist type of way that are required in the Maslow's hierarchy of Ben doing his job at least okay?
Like you need like for whatever your job is, you need some amount of tooling uh, that allows you to just get the core job done. So if everything, like if you have this work, like we always use hot dogs, right? As our example of we run a hot dog cart in Times Square. it's pretty hard to sell those hot dogs if we don't have any buns. So you need that part of your job. I mean, I'm sure there's people that are going to come up and be like, I don't need a bun, or I'm gluten intolerant, so I will
In
eat a
Times
hot
Square,
dog.
definitely. Yeah.
Or do you have lettuce to wrap around my hot
Yeah.
dog?
These freaks.
Ugh. Not knocking any celiac disease people here. I feel for you. It's just go eat something else. Go eat a
Yeah.
salad. Um, but yeah, like if that's missing, of course, you're not going to be able to do your job. You're not going to sell your product. You're not going to have a cohesive team. So there are table stakes things for me, like certain tooling that if I can't even file a PR, of course, I'm not effective. If I'm trying to like run CI and CI is on fire and it's like failing randomly, like our tests are flaky and we can't get anything done, that's table stakes, right? Um, but there's other stuff about like the team itself. Do I have a leader in the team that I believe in? Do I believe in the mission of my company? Do I think we're doing things that align to my ethics? Are we doing useful things? If you take those sorts of things away, if all you're doing is like boring drudgery work, and it's not like boring stuff doesn't bother me. It's, am I doing something that is just pageantry? Like, oh, I got a bunch of tickets of just refactoring code. We can't touch the test. The tests need to stay the same. We're just refactoring. So like that theater of, well, let's make the code prettier. By the way, we do not do that as an organization. Like you will get slammed if you do that because it's wasteful and stupid. You do it right the first time, sort of thing, and only do it if it needs it. If it's like, okay, this is too big. In the process of working on something useful, you make it so that it's smaller. Um, but if you're getting assignments where it's like this actually doesn't matter or that there's nothing useful being done here, that for me burns me pretty hard. I was like, why are we doing this?
How do you draw the line between hygiene of, like you were talking about very specific software engineering practices, but where do you like generally draw the line between something that's hygiene versus something that is just like grunt work that's necessary in the job?
I mean, grunt work that's necessary in the job, even if it feels like grunt work, like, oh, this is just monotonous, still do it if it's important. It does, like, to me, it doesn't matter if it's the coolest, sexiest new feature to be working on. Like, it's cool. You get those every once in a while, but it's not like a motivator for me. It's like, this is just another item of work that needs to get accomplished so that we as a team can be productive and like do the things that our users want so that they get more value out of this thing. It doesn't matter for me. If it's, hey, this part of the docs is super confusing. Some people are like, docs work? Ugh. I'm like, no, if it's useful, I'll do it. Yeah. But if it's
Right.
like, hey, can you change like the spacing on these elements within the docs purely for aesthetic standards? It's like, if it's obvious and annoying and it's like jarring to look at, yeah, I'll go fix that because it looks stupid and unprofessional. But if it's like pixel perfect, like, oh, this is 2 pixels off, like, I don't care. And I'm sure that no user is even going to notice that. Why are we wasting time on something like that?
Yeah, my question was a little bit more framed like the following. So, from my perspective, like grunt work would come from the basis that there is an alternative out there that can automate or facilitate this type of work, and it's not necessarily needed to be manual. Is that more correct? The classic example is like a linter. Like if you have a tool out there that can do that job, you should use it. If not, you should determine whether it's worthy of your time.
Yeah, that's a pretty good example. So it depends on what is the ecosystem that you're dealing with. Is it you're writing code for you and you're the only person contributing to it and it's a personal project and you look at the code when you need to update it or change it to fix a bug. Do you use a linter? Um, it can be helpful. Yeah, definitely. If you're somebody who just doesn't want to fix like spelling mistakes, yeah, install one, use it. It's more like, what do you want it to do? How much tight control do you need to have? Pair that to the other extreme where there's there's like 40 people contributing to the project. It's open source and you have 50,000 viewers of it a day of like the source code. And if you're not using a linter, then you're using human linters. So during PR reviews, people are saying stuff like, can you fix the spacing on this? Or, hey, this doc string looks weird. Or, I think you have a typo in your function name and it's propagated everywhere throughout the code base. That's perception of the quality of your project. You had damn sure better be using an automated linter because the humans are going to miss stuff and you're wasting the time of the reviewer of something that should just be automated.
Makes sense. Okay, so that's a great example for tooling. Basically, if there's something out there that can make your life a lot easier, try to use it. Things like Jira, linters, calendars, Slack, whatever it might be, because you could do all this without them. But if there are solutions out there in the world that make your process better, you should try to do that. So that falls into the hygiene bucket. Another obvious one is salary. So minimum salary to support your lifestyle. Those seem like two obvious ones, but Ben, are there other hygiene things that you can think of that you personally value?
I think salary is variable as well. So depending on where you are located and what you have chosen to be your minimum required amount of money to make you feel content or make you feel like you're winning, depending on who you are as a person, that's highly variable. And it's so arbitrary too. Like there are people that I personally know that would probably be like, yeah, I'm kind of struggling. Like, don't you make like 300 grand a year? And it's just what they choose to do with their income is like, okay, I see you're driving that top end Mercedes. Do you need that? Like, does that define you? Big question mark. I don't know, but that might be like what their status is. And then there's somebody else that you might know that's like, yeah, I get paid like 250 a year, but uh, I can't spend that money in a year. I live off of 110,000 a year and I'm content. So yeah, salary can be like extremely variable.
Right. Well, just question on that then. So I feel like software is paid pretty well, AI is paid pretty well. What do you think are the factors that drive industry wide salary levels from this hygiene perspective?
Well, it's definitely prestige. Um, Prestige to a certain degree and competition drives salaries higher. You want the best people. That's usually one of the easiest carrots to dangle. So like what can you dangle in front of somebody's face when you're hiring them? If you're going through the interview process and you realize, shit, we have a rock star here. We need this person. They're so good. Like we've sent them through 9 interviews and they're like a strong yes on every single one. The one that takes the least amount of cognitive effort is money. Just give them a high paycheck. Just offer them and the other stupid carrot that drives me insane is a job title. The fancier the job title, people just assume that that's like the primary motivator. And I think culturally, particularly in software, like people like tie their identity and what their capabilities are to this made up job title. Like, oh, I'm this level, so I have to be good. Everybody must respect me. It's like it's just ego theater to me. It like blows my mind about like how people can like make that part of their identity. It's like it's so irrelevant, like
Agreed.
on so many levels. Now
Yeah.
that the quality of what you produce or what you're capable of producing and how well you work with other people and how collectively you can like get shit done, that's like that is the harder thing to sell. When you're talking about like, hey, we have this position that we think you'd be good for, and here's the culture of the team, and here's how we think you will, both you will grow and they will grow by your presence. That's hard to convince somebody of. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of understanding, a lot of empathy. You also have to understand what might motivate this person purely through a conversation via a video call. You have to like be able to read this person and understand like, okay, they're this sort of person. They're motivated by this. Um, and then how do you sell a company and a position based on that? It's a lot of mental effort that you have to go through and a lot of emotional effort as well. You have to really understand people and what could inspire somebody. Like,
And
hey,
it's also skill. Like it's a skill.
yeah, you have to be able to say like, hey, I know what it says on our website about our marketing speech, about what our company does, but here's what we really value. And here's what this team really values. And here's how they play in this larger ecosystem. And here's the things that they've worked on over the last year. And here's how well they work together. Is this a bunch of, you know, assassins working in secret in isolation? Or is it this is a cohesive team, like a military unit that all have each other's backs and they all get along really well? And we think that your personality aligns with theirs. And we think you'll thrive here. It's actually, that's more profound to sell somebody like that. If it had better be true when you say that, or else you're going to seriously piss somebody off. If they get dumped into an environment, they're like, everything's on fire and these people hate each other. This sucks. I'm out. But if it is true and you've cultivated that sort of environment, that's the easiest sell you can do. And you're no longer even trying to sell people. The word of mouth probably got out about like, hey, this is how cool it is to work here. That's why I want to work here. Not the money, not the stupid job title.
Yeah. No, well
But
said.
people don't. That's how I sell during interviews. Not really selling, I guess you could say. It's more like that's my guiding force in that last 10 minutes of just being honest. Like, hey, you asked the question, what's it like working here? Here's what it's really like. Is this something that aligns with your values?
Yeah.
And there are some people you can tell it's like, nope, this does not motivate them. They don't care. But then there's other people that are like, they get like visibly excited. They're like, hold on a minute. It's like that? Hell yeah, I want to be a part of that. And they're like, you hooked them in a good way. Because you're like, I identify that you are probably going to be good on this team. So please, let's go build shit together.
Yeah. Aligned. I think we're potentially modifying the definitions from how to measure your life originally intended, but it seems like hygiene is more of a binary factor, true or false. Is it there or is
Mm-hmm.
it not? And then the second factor, you started almost talking about it, but the motivation factor is incremental. It gets you from 80% productivity to 90 to 95 to 110 to whatever this actual ceiling is. So that makes a lot of sense. So I think you were talking about a third category of hygiene, which is sort of these required intangibles. For me, I need autonomy. Like if I'm micromanaged, I'll freak out. And then also, I need to have some sort of meaning or purpose in my job. I am at a point where, like, I don't know, doing things that I find meaningful and quote unquote helping the world is a non negotiable. Uh, and so there are a lot of other things from a like soft skills or traits perspective that might be part of the hygiene category, but hygiene is binary. Motivation, on the other hand, is incremental, as we just said. How the hell do you create motivation?
I actually don't know how I think you can be inspired um, in that way if you see how, if you work, if you're like a mentee of somebody that you admire in some regard and you see the way that they see the world, then it becomes fungible. You can be like, I want to emulate this person. I want to try to rewire my brain to value the same things that this person that I greatly respect value. So it's highly mutable in life. Sometimes some people hit that early in their careers. Sometimes they hit that in school. Sometimes they hit that early in childhood. They had like a really great sports coach, or they had a great music teacher, or somebody was a role model for them that they wanted to emulate. And they saw qualities in this person that they aspire to one day have. That can happen. Some people are just born with like wiring in their brain of like, this is just how I see the world from a very early age. I don't remember a pre-time before I saw things in this way. But I know that selfish behavior and self-serving behavior is a sociologically learned trait because we are a social species evolutionarily. That is the only way that we have survived as a species and thrived on this planet, is by social community. And the natural tendency is to build bonds of trust and mutual respect with one another in order to kind of see our continued existence only functionally works as well as it can if we're helping one another out. And that's kind of like the baseline of, I think, when born, humans are programmed with that. That's just how our brains work. Society can definitely rewire that in somebody. And you can see it in what motivates different groups of civilizations on this planet. They're wildly different motivations that are present. And I think people selectively turn off parts of their internal moral compass and their interpretation of morality in order to conform. That's the other downside of society. You can get a really shitty role model and aspire to that and be like, oh, wealth acquisition. That's the name of the game. That's all I need to do is just make as much fucking money as I can in my lifetime. And you ask that person, what are you going to do with it? Like, what are you actually going to do? You make $100 million lifetime. What are you going to do with that money? Oh, after I've like retired and had all my fun, then I'm going to like give back to charity. And you look at those people, do they do that? No, they do not. What have they meaningfully done? If that's your goal, the most efficient, highly optimized way to get there is to fuck everybody else over and make yourself appear to be indispensable. And you can do sociopathic things all along the way. You're not going to have a safety net around you because it might be one based in fear. We're like, oh, that person's powerful. I need to fear that person. I don't want to do anything to mess with them because they have clout. But at the end of the day, when you're on your deathbed, what are you reflecting on if that's your life? I won the game. Hell yeah. Look at all my power, money.
Yeah. And
Maybe.
research does seem to drive this point home, which is and anecdotal evidence, but based on the book, there's a lot of scenarios where people come out of college really like wide-eyed and hungry to help the world. They make that first paycheck, they get a partner, they start thinking about a family, and they start being more self-centered and focused on getting their own. And that makes sense, like up to a certain point. But as you said, Ben, like $100 million starts to be just keeping score. And so then it almost enters this motivation category instead of this hygiene category,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of a bummer, but it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, and the converse side of that thinking is somebody who goes through a career, like we're specifically talking about like high tech, focused people here. And their only motivation is community, whether it's their immediate local community where they live or their community at work, like their team, their department. They're seen like these are the rare people that are seen as like, oh, that's just a mentor. Like I don't know why this person just wants everybody around to get better, but they give their time freely to make other people better. And the people who are the clout chasers, the ones who are just in it for themselves, they kind of look disdainfully at that person and they're
Mhm.
like, what an idiot. Like, why would you even do that? Why would you tell
Yeah.
people all these secrets that you've amassed? Whereas the person who's all about community is like, why would you not do this? Don't you want to see like everybody succeed? And like, there's like fewer greater rewards in life than seeing another person be inspired by ideas that you're passing on, or like a different way of looking at how to approach life. How do you approach your existence?
Super funny you say that. I think that that's a very rare trait. And I know you have that, but and maybe we're just at different points in our career. But I thought coming out of school that I would really care about that. And it doesn't hit. Like, I want to help people. I really value being a good teammate, but I don't know. Like, and I always thought I would love orchestrating and building teams. I would like love doing psychoanalysis on someone, figuring out what's their deep cause for wanting to work on this, what's their ultimate why, and then all tie it back to the same thing. But I've found that A, that doesn't hit for me super hard, and B, that's often overstepping. And typically, you just want to have a cohesive team and have people feel part of something bigger than themselves. Beyond that, it's sort of hygiene. So, tying it back to this motivation piece, I'm super, super curious. And it's such a fascinating concept. Just one more anecdote. In my first or second internship, my direct manager, who's to date probably the smartest person I've ever met, or second smartest now that I think about it, he said that a manager's job is not to keep people at running at 98% efficiency. It's to make sure they don't dip below 90%. So it's clearing stuff that would just get in the way of them being productive. It's ensuring that they have work life balance, that their comp is handled, that they feel general meaning and general purpose. All of the hygiene stuff, ensuring that's super, super well accounted for so that they can go basically play jazz.
Mhm.
I always thought a manager's job was to inspire and lead and like create this intangible feeling where everybody wants to go from 95 to 98% or even 100%. Um, Ben, I'm curious how you think about that aspect. How do you, let's say you're the lead of a team, which you have been many times, do you look to create this inspirational culture? And if so, how do you do it?
It's never a push function. And by the way, that manager you're talking about, that is exactly what a manager is for. You're air cover and protection for your team. You're not the source of inspiration for your team. And if you try to do that, it comes off as a super cringe. If that's like, oh, I'm going to motivate the team. Like, no, you're there to make sure the team doesn't quit and that they're happy and that people aren't fucking with them. That's it. What somebody who's uh, like a mentor position is somebody who doesn't have the skin in the game of being responsible for rating somebody or doing all of the hierarchy of needs things. Like they're not controlling salary or promotions or anything like that because you can't be dual hatted that way because it's disingenuous. It's like just inauthentic. So you need somebody who is like a team lead who they're not writing evals. Their only role is like I've seen it done in two different ways. I've seen it as the like the forcing function. Like I'm going to try to make everybody like me, and that's like the most toxic way. They might come from a good place, but that's not empathy. That's ego. That's like I'm I'm trying to force everybody to conform to my level of greatness. The opposite end of that, and the one that I try to do, is you lead you try to lead by example. So practice what you preach. If you're doing something, try to do it in a way that is instructive, like as a demonstration. Like, oh, this is what we could do. Like somebody looking at it from like a peer perspective looks at that and is like, wow, this is really really well thought out, or this is really well executed, or even though it had problems, like the person who implemented it found the problems and fixed them before anybody else found them. It's like that sort of thing of like responsibility for craft ethic. But then the mentorship part comes from, if you are driven by this, when somebody asks you for help or is floundering, you can't come in. If they're asking for help, you had better give it. And that's not a, please do this for me. Like most adults aren't like that. It's more like, hey, I think you've done something similar like this before. Can you give me some tips? That's carte blanche for you to be like, okay, I'm shifting away from peer mode into, I'm going to give you a slice of this mental model. So maybe you can think about it differently, based on all the things that I've learned, and maybe that'll help you out. And it's very collaborative, and it can be very Socratic as well. Like, hey, what do you think the options are here? And if they get to that point, then you're like, sweet, I've been a great rubber duck for you. I'm just like a mirror to your soul and helped you think through this in a way that works for you. That's good mentorship, in my opinion. The way that those people can sometimes become inadvertently toxic is if you're the cover fire for people. Like, you see that they're stuck on something and you're coming at it from a good place. You're like, okay, Joe is really, really stressed out right now. Like, he's like really struggling with this implementation, or like coming up with this, feature development or something. And instead of asking like, hey, do you need some pointers or something? Or, hey, do you want to talk through what you're struggling with or something? Just being, nice and collaborative, just filing a freaking PR yourself to fix it. Like, there might be relief on Joe's part. Joe might be like, thank God this is like unblocked. I can move on to the next thing that my inability to solve this was blocking. You don't teach anything at that point except dependence. And as the mentor, like the more senior person, you're now just signing yourself up for an unmaintainable level of work through just sheer social expectation. And that's a recipe for burnout.
Yeah. So when you're talking about these motivational components and how to basically build them, it sounds like mentorship is absolutely essential. You build up people, teach them how to fish instead of giving them a fish. I'm curious, what else motivates you though? Like, you like to mentor and be mentored, but are there, like, the classic one is where you feel camaraderie within the team, that you're all working towards the same goal, that like unifying force. Do those things matter to you? Like, what else do you think about when you're building out this motivational profile within a team?
I mean, team cohesion, I think a lot of people hand wave it as like, oh, it's just like soft skills bullshit. It's so key. Like, if you've worked in enough industries and worked in enough teams, I'd be able to identify what really works. And sometimes you might hit that magical configuration where it's like, not everybody's best friends, but everybody has mutual respect, and people are they're all uniformly helping one another out. Is nobody's, with the exception of like a few jobs that I've had, it's not possible to have like the hero archetype, and you shouldn't have the hero archetype. You can have the tactical hero, just like, okay, this person knows more than anybody else, and there's an emergency, like something is legitimately on fire right now or is about to catch fire. Not from the metaphorical sense, like the ship is on fire sort of thing. Those people, you want to be able to have them around and be available and ready to go and save the ship sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you
But
shouldn't take a burning ship as an opportunity to mentor.
post hoc you should. So if you just have that one hero, inspire that hero to get 10 heroes instead of one hero. And that requires a lot of humility. If you happen to be the hero or seen as the hero and are very uncomfortable with that, I've been that in many points in my career, and it makes me feel not good. Like, I do not like when people see me that way, because I'm just as much of a fucking idiot as anybody else. Like I don't have all the answers, but I'm pretty stubborn and persistent about trying to get to a point where I have at least enough of the answers and feel uncomfortable when I can't answer things. So I'll work hard to like get good enough. Um, but if I, every time that I've seen like, oh man, everybody thinks that I'm like so good at this thing, I try to identify somebody else. And the next time work like that comes around, I'll talk to whoever's assigning the work and be like, I think this would be a great opportunity to get this person working on this because I've done this before and I'll be cover fire for them in case things go really wrong, but I'll also work with them and answer their questions. And that's how you can like inadvertently help upskill other people. And from my personality type, seeing somebody else get to that, to like the level that other people were potentially misperceiving me as being, and then looking at them and being like, hell yeah, this is awesome. Like this person is the real deal. It's such, it's like, it's not a zero sum game. It is infinitely scalable because you're doing good for the company, you're doing good for the team, but most importantly, you're doing good for that person. And you're not doing it out of a place of, oh, I'm doing this now. This person's going to owe me because I did like such a favor for him. It's more like I'm doing this because it's good for that person, and they're gonna be able to pass that on to maybe three other people about like that craft ethic or how they view this thing. Like that's what gets me out of the bed in the morning. It's like the primary motivator for me.
And for all you selfish people out there, it also benefits you because you can now go on PTO, or you can go do that promotion that you want and have people just backfill you with ease. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of reasons to try to create replacements. That makes a lot of sense. I am curious on this next topic. So that was the first component of basically hygiene versus motivation factors. We talked a lot about that. But the next one is sort of taking a step back as an individual. How do you try to navigate a career? And I know, Ben, you've had some frankly strange job transitions throughout your time in the workforce, and the book basically poses two different strategies. The first is emergent, and the second is deliberate. Emergent means you don't look that far in the future, and when opportunities arise, you pounce. And then deliberate is a bit more planning oriented. You see where you want to be in 15 years, and then you work backwards from that goal. Which one do you use?
I use mode 3, so neither of those two. Um, it's definitely not deliberate. It never has been. Um, in fact, people that I've known throughout my life who are the deliberate type have looked at my like resume, work history, and been like, dude, what the fuck? Like, how? And then people in group 2 have also said that to me. Like, how is this even possible? Like, how did you jump from that to that to that and then to that? What the hell? And to me, it's it's not something that I've reflected on a lot over the years, but recently I have kind of been kind of thinking about that and like, huh, I have like a different perspective now of, why it is that my career looked like this. And it's a blend of epistemic curiosity. Like I love learning. Um, and it's not, I love learning to be smarter than other people. That that emotion has never entered my head in my entire life because I don't feel that. I've never felt that way. Uh, I don't compare myself to other humans of like, oh man, that person's so much smarter than me, or I'm so much smarter than that person. I'm just like, it's just another person, and they have a completely different life than I've experienced. But
Wait,
I
that's
look at
that's pretty evolved. I'm curious how, like, why do you think that way? I feel like I think that way too, but I think it's pretty rare. But I definitely compare myself a lot. So how do you succeed in not comparing yourself?
because it's irrelevant, and I also see uh, even in places where somebody sees me in that way, is like, oh, Ben's so smart. I have so much to learn from him. I don't see that as like, I have so much to teach to this person. I see it in the same way of like, I have a lot to learn from this person. I might not be learning the things that they want to learn from me. And that's
Kind
fine.
of the point. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, if you're coming to me to ask about like software engineering things, I'm not going to be like, I could learn some cool dev tricks from this person. No, I'm going to learn something about them as a person. I'm going to learn about how they think, how they see reality. I'm going to learn about what motivates them. I'm going to learn things about like things that they've done in their life. When you get into a good mentor mentee relationship, you understand things about people, and everything is knowledge. Everything is like something to gain and get a greater understanding of humanity and reality in general. And it tickles the part of my brain that is like systems thinking. Like when I interact with somebody, looking at I'm not looking at their resume because I really don't care like at all. I'm trying to figure out, not from a position of control, but a position of empathetic understanding. Like, why is this person the way that they are? Like, what in their life, or what truly motivates this person to be the way that they are? Why do they respond to praise in this way and criticism in this way? How do I need to adjust myself when interacting with this person to best resonate with them? And it's like a meta game for me. It's more, and it doesn't come from a position of, I can control this person because I understand how humans work. It's more like, in order for me to be, to make my time with them the most effective for them, understanding them better and figuring out what actually makes sense to them, for like how I can present information or my own history or wisdom that I've learned over the years. That's why I do that. It's like a really fun systems game for me, like understanding how things work and why they work the way they do. And people are no different.
Yeah. Okay. That's a very interesting angle. Uh, cool. So going back to emergent versus deliberate, you said you're in mode three. What is that mode?
it's kind of it's kind of like a worldview that's not too different from Diogenes. So like, we're all human, we're all silly, we're all flawed. So just have fun with it. And it's like extreme empathy, but also laughing with and at us as a species and all of these little fiefdoms we create and these control systems and like how power works. I understanding that, and then being like emotionally removed from all that stuff and seeing how the machine works. That's kind of, and that can apply to not just interpersonal relationships and team dynamics and company dynamics. It also applies to work in general, like understanding what is actually important. Why do we do what we do? And why should I care about this? And how can I do this in a way that benefits other people? Like that's the big motivation for me, is like just curiosity and wanting to gain skills that help other people.
Right. But the question is on execution. How, so you have this driving force of curiosity and helping people. What's the most effective way to do that? Is it opportunistic? Is it planning based? Is it somewhere in the middle?
I mean, for me personally, because of that sort of systems way that I see everything, I actually get really irritated with inefficiency. And like when things are done that are pointless or done in a really incorrect way, or the thing that really torques me up is done in an exploitative way. So you're burning somebody out with tasks that are beyond their capability, and they're not getting any help, and they're just stressed out. Like that pisses me off, like to the highest degree. Like I will actually get visibly enraged when I see stuff like that, because it doesn't benefit anything. That now becomes this like bullshit self-imposed zero-sum rule game that is being played by management, um, where nobody actually wins. Like the product doesn't win, the team doesn't win, that person certainly doesn't win. It's like, why do you have to do this way? It makes zero sense.
Okay, that makes sense. From my perspective, I'm a really freaking type A person, so I like to plan things and have a lot of control. I mean, I'm like chill interpersonally, but when it comes to like my life, I definitely add a lot of structure. And then once that structure is there, I sort of relax and like very comfortable within the constraints that I've placed. So that's basically my approach, and I don't know if there's a big difference between emergent versus deliberate. I like can't plan 5 years in advance. I'm physically incapable. But I also don't want it to be fully emergent where I don't know what I'm doing in the next week. So I have this sort of middle ground where I set 3 year goals and then create 6 month sub goals. But there are often times in careers where you just can't plan. Like the past year for me, for example, I could not have like understood that I was going to be coming to this place or via like the route that I did. So it's just very opportunistic and understanding that sometimes you do need to throw plans out the window, but having a general North Star and a trajectory of where you want to head. And the final point on this is to me, North Stars and trajectories are not salaries, they're not job titles, they're not what you would find on paper, they're feelings. So I want to know how I want to feel. And if I'm feeling the right ways, I'll recognize that and pursue that feeling. If I'm feeling the wrong ways, that'll be a red flag and I'll try to switch it. So the classic ones are like liking and respecting the people I work with, feeling passion and purpose in what I'm doing, those types of feeling oriented goals. Because honestly, implementation doesn't matter in that sense. You just want to be living the life that you want to be living. And hopefully, How to Measure Your Life by Clayton Christensen affirms that, or at least provides some strategies. But I'm only
I
two
mean,
chapters in.
what you just described is that mode 3 though, right? It's it's the thing that a lot of people I don't think they recognize about this. And I do recognize that it is rare that, because I haven't met, you are one of the few people that I've met in the last couple of years that have this ethic. And I call it the builder ethic. It's, it's adherence to craft. It's, I'm getting better to help people around me, but also to help my own capabilities of supporting a team and building the right stuff and dedicating yourself to kind of getting better over time in order to make whatever you produce as good as you're capable of doing it. That's a builder ethic. It's you're not getting assigned something, or like somebody's like, hey, can I have some help for you to do this, and sitting there and whinging and complaining, or like making it into this huge process nightmare and like making it political and like pointing fingers. It's more like, okay, so this is the problem to solve. I might not know how to solve every part of it, but I damn sure know that I'm going to work at it until I figure it out. And then you deliver. That's a builder. That's like that whole ethos. It's rare, but that if that's what truly motivates you, you're also inspiring other people around you. And it inadvertently, and you don't even realize this when you're in the midst of it until you're like later on in your career, you'll start seeing patterns where it's like, why did I get sponsored by this like super senior like person? Why is everybody asking like if I'm interested in working on this new initiative, or like why am I getting pulled into these things? I didn't ask for this, but people seem to have like some faith in me. And you might actually think like, damn, I'm way too dumb for this. Like I don't know what the hell's going on, but I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to do my best. That's the side effect of being a builder. If people start seeing that you're like, hey, people are recognizing you, you're not looking for recognition, you don't care. Or maybe when you get it, you're like a little warm, fuzzy, a little bit of serotonin release. You're like, oh, that's cool that I got like somebody dropped my name. That's really nice. But it doesn't define you as a person. What defines you is remembering like for this one project that people were just praising, the only thing you're thinking about is like, next time I'm not going to make those 37 mistakes. I'm going to just probably make like 12 or 15, but different mistakes because I'm going to try to optimize this and make it better next time that I work on something like this. That is the builder ethic.
Yeah, I think I'm even less builder ethic in terms of process serves results. Like if I could clap twice and have the result, I mean, there's the classic like adage of like process is the reason why things exist. Like life is about
Mm-hmm.
process. But I don't know. I kind of like results. Um, but I
So
think
do
that
builders. Builders, that's
yeah,
all builders care about. Is like, did I solve the problem to make people's lives better or like make this problem go away? That's a builder. The people that are empire builders, that are like doing it for recognition, they'll take that same thing and realize like somebody might tell them, like you or me might be like, hey dude, did you know that you could just clap twice and like this is solved? And they'll be like, well, technically, I need to create a repo. 3 months later, here's 150,000 lines of spaghetti code. It looks impressive if you're not somebody capable of looking at it. And people be like, oh, this is so good. Look at how much work you did. And they're going to feel great and be like, yeah, recognition. But those people hate people like you and I. Because if we come in and be like, dude, why did you build any of this? Like this solution already exists. They feel attacked and they're like, my entire worldview is now being attacked, and they become very hostile.
I've experienced that in the past couple months.
Yeah, I'd say that that mentality is far more prevalent in tech than a builder mentality, like
Mhm.
way more prevalent. Probably like a 50-1 ratio based on my interactions with people.
Yeah, that is an uneven ratio. Okay, well, we're coming up on time. I want to close with one final question, which is if you could give one piece of advice to a junior data scientist, AI engineer, whatever it might be, software engineer, even that's entering the field, let's say a couple years out of college, what would you tell them to do?
Be humble. It's not about you. And in critical review of your stuff, it's not being critical of you as a person. It's just critical of the work. So make the work better. Learn how to make the work better without injecting ego into it. And that's probably the best advice that somebody in tech can hear, in my opinion.
Damn, I was hoping you would waffle a bit more to give me time to think. Um, I agree fully. I think humility is like the it's kind of the engine that allows you to see clearly. Like if you're looking for the next step and you have a pair of binoculars, humility makes those binoculars really, really clear instead of introducing biases that might make you not pick the optimal direction. So I'll take the other approach of it is all right, humility helps you pick where to go, but I think the going is really important. So I'm not quite sure what that means. For me, it looks like very passion oriented and biased for action. But just try shit, just do shit. Like explore, be curious, whatever your motivation is, like build stuff, explore and learn. Um, that has served me so freaking well. And yeah, some of the stuff you work on is not going to come to fruition, but weird example during COVID, I wanted to get into like more renewable energy stuff. So I, I forget that I do this or did this, but I reached out to the Department of Energy for the United States of America and was like, yo, I will be an unpaid intern for 4 weeks. Let me just work on marine energy because I love the ocean. And the person I reached out to was like, sure, all right, free work, we'll take it. I then ended up talking to like basically building a meta analysis slash survey and ended up talking to most of the industry leaders in the space, got really incredible information, and put together a really large write up. And that's just because I sent a freaking email. Like it took me
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes. So I don't know. You've really, if you just have bias reaction and say yes to things, you really end up in cool places.
But what you just explained was exactly what my advice was. So removal of ego. Ego is the thing that prevents us from doing shit like that. because it makes you worried about people's perception of you. It makes you terrified of like, well, what if people think I'm stupid? Or what if it's applying your sense of self and your sense of self-worth to your work, which is incorrect. It's in a relationship that has nothing to do with one another. So if you remove that and be like, this isn't about me, but what can be me is the person who's fearless and will do the crazy dumb shit and doesn't care if people are like, yeah, Ben's an idiot. Because if you're doing that consistently over your entire career, not only will that probably not happen, or it might happen, but don't worry about it. But at a certain point, it's you're never going to get that response. You're going to get the "Can I learn from you?" sort of response, and that's fulfilling.
Yeah, yeah, well said. All right, I will summarize. So today we start off with the book How to Measure Your Life. I'm a couple chapters in, and I think it's very timely for a lot of reasons. Um, One aspect that is highlighted in the book is this concept of hygiene versus motivational job factors. Hygiene, as we discussed, is sort of binary, and it can include things like tooling, salary, and these sort of required intangibles that you need to do your job. Motivation, on the other hand, is incremental. It is not binary. Things that fall under this category are mentor mentee relationships, team cohesion, that sort of thing. And often this should come from the technical lead or your peers. It shouldn't come from your manager who controls your salary. A few miscellaneous tips. Managers, as we just alluded to, should provide air cover and then sort of get out of the way. Their job is to keep you operating at 90% efficiency or above, not moving you from 95 to 98%. And then for comparison, it's very dangerous. So you can take different angles to not compare yourself. Humility is a great example, but both Ben and I use this technique of remembering that people are people. They have lives, they have fears, they have goals, hopes, and dreams. They were kids one day. And so putting that into perspective is often really, really helpful. And then finally, if you're more junior, 2 years out of college, or even a million years out of college, it's really important to be humble and have bias for action. Anything else?
Well said, Ben.
Cool. Until next time, it's been Michael Burke and my co host,
Ben Wilson.
and have a good day, everyone.
We'll catch you next time.